when I made my post in November about how I didn't understand that Latinos and Haitians could vote for Trump, I got lashback. And I made this post as the daughter of an immigrant who is now a U.S. citizen. So my parents are U.S. citizens, and I am a U.S. citizen. But they're immigrants. They were immigrants when they came here. So what I don't understand, when I said I didn't understand this, I got lashback that, you all knew, Haitians and Latino knew what you were doing. You were not stupid. Excuse me. That, this was about getting those criminals out of the United States. Getting those that you don't want criminals. Those criminals that come from other countries. You don't want them here in the U.S. Did you really think that the policies would just target criminals? Because it was really interesting to me that shortly after, I thought my response to that comment was, well, we'll see what happens. Because did you really think that there would be a policy just to target criminals? It's all immigrants. And verified by the fact that I shortly after got to turn on the news and see Venezuelans who had voted for Trump stating their regret because now their family members were being deported. And I think that was exactly the point that I had made, is that what happens when you vote for him and then your family members who are undocumented, who are here illegally, who are maybe here legally and waiting to be to get their naturalization papers or their whatever it is, your documentation to stay. What happens when you start to see them get deported? I believe that's what we've seen. Well, that's for one. Because, the thing is that Trump, the Republicans, I don't want to say Trump. This is because I don't want to make this too political, because you're going to see at the end that this is not as political as you think. The Republicans voted or campaigned on fear. Democrats do the same. I'm a registered Democrat who is in the process of switching her party to independent because I don't understand what's going on out here. And whatever it is, I really didn't want to vote for any of it. But we all know and understand that if you don't vote one way or another, that's when your rights get taken away. That's when your rights really start to get taken away. Now, Trump voted on fear. On what fear? He ran on the fear of immigrants being here in the U.S. And whose fear? He ran on your fear. All the people that voted for him based on this immigration issue, he voted on your fear. And I have to tell you something about fear. Fear is a low vibrational energy, and it's false evidence appearing real. So the next time someone approaches you and tries to scare you into doing something, you might want to sit back and think about it and see what the real issue is for you. Because for everyone, it's going to be different. And I could see why, and I told you also in my video that I could see why people were going to vote for Trump and that he might even win. And I could understand why he won. Trump was going to be good for business, for real estate. If you're into cryptocurrencies, Trump is your man. But guess what? That's all money, right? And you're going to say real estate, how? Yeah, because guess what? The real estate market is getting ready to crash. We are going to see another real estate crash. Hopefully not worse than what we saw in 2008. Because now people are losing their jobs. They can't pay their taxes. They can't pay their mortgage. It's coming. And who are those people? Oh, guess what? They're not immigrants. These are the people. These are you people who voted for Trump. But again, I can see why you voted for Trump, right? Like I said, some of you are really going to benefit from this. And I could see it because I've done my research. And I know that there's money to be made in a real estate crash. You'd have to take a course to find out how that works. But yes, for every one of you who's going to lose your home, someone is going to make money off of you losing your home. And that's the same, every one of you. It's ironic because some of you that voted for Trump understand the real issue. You really understand what was going on. You understand how you were going to what the truth was, that how you were going to benefit from this. The rest of you, you voted on fear. You voted on the fear of immigrants being in your country. You voted on securing your borders, right? And I'm not saying that we don't need to secure our borders and make sure, but you know what? And they're going to continue. They're going to give you that. But what's happening in the meantime? Let's talk about what's happening in the meantime. All the other things that he didn't tell you about. And it's the same thing that politicians do, whether they're Republican or Democrat. They all do the same. They campaign on fear. You vote for fear, and then they come in and they do all these things that you weren't expecting. So what weren't you expecting? Well, you should have anyway, because he was upset. They were upset that there were all these investigations. Remember, the FBI was investigating him. So now all these departments, all these federal departments are being targeted. All you federal workers, I'm like, thank God, excuse me, but thank God I'm not a federal worker, because, oh my goodness, federal workers are losing their job. But I could say thank God, but you know what? I have family members who are federal workers. So really? Excuse me. And although I'm not a federal worker, I am a registered nurse. I am the bedside rebel. And guess what? The Veterans Health Administration employs most of the majority of the 4.5 million nurses here in the United States. Those nurses take care of our veterans. Let's do some homework together. Those nurses take care of you veterans out there. The same ones of you who voted for this. Nurses are in hospitals experiencing violence. Because why? Oh, there's not enough ancillary staff to ensure their safety. Yes, the security, all these people, security, the nurses' aides, the phlebotomists, the physical therapists. There's not enough ancillary staff to assist nurses to make sure that they're safe and protected. And now the Veterans Health Administration is letting ancillary staff go. Even your IT department is your ancillary staff. Your IT department supports your nurses who use computers to do their documentation. Do you see how deep this goes? They're being let go. Should nurses now go learn how to do IT as well as being short-staffed, underpaid, and being in poor safety conditions? This is a snowball effect that you could not see because you are so scared of immigrants. And it's ironic because it's, I believe she's an immigrant nurse who was at Palms West Hospital, beat to a pulp, 67 years old, still working because probably she could not retire. She loved doing what she does and was not ready to retire yet. At 67, was beat to a pulp. And now they're calling it a hate crime. Right? So she probably got beat. I'm assuming she may have been partly beaten because the patient was mad about something, was having a psychiatric episode, and she was an immigrant. This is what fear does. Fear turns around, right? Because fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear turns around and bites you in the ass at the end. Because really, do you have to fear the nurse, the immigrant nurse that's taking care of you, who's here legally, by the way? She wasn't here illegally. She's not here illegally. And now she's going to lose her eyesight. Why? Oh, false evidence appearing real. Running on fear. It's what it does. People start to believe what they're told. And you want to hear something else that's really sad? When politicians campaign, it doesn't matter again if they're Democrat or if they're Republican. When they campaign, they do their homework about where and who they're campaigning to. Who they're going to feed the fear to. Who's open to the fear that they are spewing out. So, who was open to being afraid of immigrants, right? I mean, obviously, we even had the immigrants themselves who came here at one point and were not, maybe they came here legally, but you're still an immigrant. You can't, just because you get citizenship papers, you were still an immigrant at one time. So you understand, or you should understand what that means. They even had you immigrants being scared of your own fellow immigrants. That's how deep it goes. That's how sad it is. And you want to know what's even sadder? And I learned this in nursing school 27 years ago, and it's still real today. Can you believe it? 27 years later, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, and I still don't believe I don't want to believe it's true now, but it is. 55% of Americans read below a 5th grade level. I was literally told in nursing school that when you put pamphlets together, if you're putting brochures together, you have to put them together at a 5th grade level because most people don't read above that level. They don't have comprehension above that level. And you know what's ironic about that? That means that our board of education, right, is not doing their job, maybe because they don't have the funds. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're being sort of dismantled also. And you have more than 50% of people in the US don't read above a 5th grade level, do not have comprehension above a 5th grade level. Which means that, how old were you when you were in 5th grade? Probably around 10, 11? Yeah. Most 10 and 11-year-olds cannot see past what they're told, right? They don't have, they're still developing the ability to be able to discern and make sense of what they're being told to come to their own conclusion. So if you feed a 10 or 11-year-old fear, guess what? They're going to believe you. Well, that's who our politicians campaign to. And so with that said, now we have a situation where most of our government agencies are being dismantled for whatever reason. And whether or not there's government, there probably is government corruption and, money abuse of the funds that are appropriated to these agencies somehow. I would imagine not all the funds, but I imagine some of the funds. When you start to do the homework, you start to wonder, you're like, okay, so USAID is 1.2% of government funding. Right? And it's one of the first things, besides the FBI, it was one of the first things that they showed, because that is giving, again, money to foreign aid, money to people that are the other, the people that are not like you, right? So everybody's like, yeah, we're taking back our money, enough of this, right? And then they attacked the Veterans Health Administration that funds your own U.S. citizens. How long did you think it would take before you would be affected? How long do you think it would take before this mess trickled down to you? Well, now we're living it. And guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. One of the top things Googled, if you hit how to take my vote back, I think it is, take my vote back. It's one of the top things Googled. Does that tell you where we are at? Because if you voted and you didn't know that you couldn't take your vote back, yes, I'm talking, and there's no shame. I'm not saying this to shame anyone. It just is what it is. That more than 50% of the United States is reading and making decisions at a 5th grade level because the education system is failing us. So I don't know what the answer is to this. I'm just here today to, maybe this is just a ramble. I don't know what the answer is. I would say go to your politicians, but who do you go to? You go to Trump, you go to Kamala, and I voted Democrat this last time, even though I knew that they probably wouldn't win. And even though I didn't feel like we had the best candidate as Democrats. Where are the Democrats? Where's Hakeem Jeffries? He's out there talking. But they don't even know. Like, you could tell when they're talking, they don't know what to do. I don't know what to say to that, because it would appear that on the other side, the plan was in place before the election was finished. And so we're on day 40 or 41 of this new administration, and he's implemented so much. They're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. And the things that they wrote, things in Project 2025 that they wrote that they were going to do, that nobody read because we don't read at that level. We just take in what people tell us as true, and then we run with it, right? This is the danger of running on fear. This is the danger of making decisions on fear. So if I could tell you guys anything today, whether it's an election, whether it's in your life, take a step back the next time somebody comes to you to try to get you to make a decision on false evidence appearing real. It's low vibrational. And the information that you're going to be making a decision on is most likely not complete. There might be some half-truths tossed in there, but it's not complete. And it's so sad. It is sad to see. You have people out there now. What am I gonna do? I voted for this person, and look what's happening to me. What are we gonna do? And I see so many on the other side. Of where a lot of the Black community is like, no, we told you. We told you that this was going to happen, and you didn't listen because you didn't want us to have what you have. And that's the point of view I'm hearing from the Black community. That you didn't want that, as the white people, you didn't want them to have what you have. And I would have to agree with that, because I made another post. And I'm going to end after this. I made another post where I talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion policies when they wiped that out. And I said, my goodness, we have so many women that work for Walmart who's taking away the diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. I don't understand. And I got a comment, which I was like, who wrote this? That I got a comment from a viewer saying that not nurses, I'm sorry. I got a viewer from a comment saying that Black people are just they just want diversity, equity, and inclusion so that they can live off the backs of white people. And I was like, did that person really say that? I know they did, but I'm like, do they really understand diversity, equity, and inclusion? See, again, they fed you the fear, right? You're afraid that diversity, equity, and inclusion would support gays. you're afraid that diversity, equity, and inclusion would support Black people. When the reality is that if you think about it, and if you do research, you will find that diversity, equity, and inclusion, right, was for your white women. Yes, Blacks benefited. Yes, gays, the LGBTQ community did also benefit from it, right? But diversity, equity, and inclusion was because you have a majority white women who are way more in numbers than the Black community put together, and way more than Black women. You have way more white women in the United States than you do Black women. And you can Google those numbers, because I'm sure Google is pretty accurate in pulling these numbers for you. That it was your white women who could not get equal pay because corporations and companies were run by white men. So it was your white women that were benefiting from maybe closing that gap, getting promotions, and being recognized. They were the ones leading the way, and yes, Black women benefited, LGBTQ benefited. But when you took it away, when they took it away, guess what, ladies? My fellow white ladies out there, my white friends out there, they took your rights away too. You know, that's what happens. This is the false information that's fed to you, because when they talk to you about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? They just talk about LGBTQ. You hear that. It's all over the news. It's all over the news that it's the Blacks that are getting promotions and getting hired based on this. How do you think your white women were getting hired? They were getting hired on the same policy. I am switching to an independent because I feel like both sides of the spectrum, both Democrats and Republicans, have done this, and it's enough. Why don't they run on truth? Why don't they tell you the truth? Why don't they fix the education system so that instead of all this rigmarole, why don't they fix the education system so that you can be able to read at a higher level than 5th grade, so that you can make an informed decision for yourself and your family, a real informed decision. Because right now, listen, with all these people losing their jobs, you're about to see a crisis in the housing market like you haven't seen before. But guess what? I'm about to see, because I watch all these channels on YouTube. I see what the rich people are doing. They are about to get richer as you're losing your home. Doesn't that suck? So if I were you right now, my advice to you, to everyone out there, white, Black, it doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I don't believe anymore that this is about being Black, white, Republican, or Democrat. If I were you, I would be doing use Google, right? Because we use Google for everything. We use Google to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, right? Okay, so Google gives out, we believe that Google gives out accurate information. If I were you, I would go to Google, find some YouTube channels, look up people. I'm gonna drop a name here for you. You look up people like Robert Kiyosaki on YouTube and start watching his videos, because you're gonna need it. Go see what they do. It's not time to hate on them, because they were prepared. They did their homework. They knew what was happening. They knew how to position themselves to benefit from what's happening now and what's going to continue to happen because of what's happening now. So go position yourself. If you want some more links, drop me a comment down below. I can throw some at you. Go research. I'm going to give you one more. Go research crypto. If you don't know what cryptocurrency is, it's about time you found out. Because while you can't afford eggs, there are people out there that are going to be making mucho money on cryptocurrency. For heaven's sake, if you don't understand, Trump has a Trump coin. Melania has a Melania coin. And their son Byron has a Byron coin. So cryptocurrency is not just something that's going away. And if you think just because Trump has a Trump coin and Melania has a Melania coin and Byron has a Byron coin, right? These are meme coins, but they're coins. There are other cryptocurrencies out there, like Bitcoin. I'm sure many of you know what Bitcoin is, right? Well, let me give you a little tidbit. Trump sold people his Trump coin and then sold them, used the money he made from people who bought the Trump coin, and he bought Bitcoin. What I say is we need to stop listening to what they say, right? Don't do as they say. Do as they do. And to do as they do, you gotta follow them. Hands down. So we have to stop the hating and just do as they do. Because, right, you can't change what they're doing. You can't change your vote. You already cast your vote. You signed up for this. But now it's time to do what they do. But to do what they do, you got to educate yourself. And it's unfortunate because the American education system is not educating you to do what they do. They're educating you to do what they say. The Bedside Rebel is out. Have a good day.